Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
The Trump administration keeps eliminating federal government jobs. Today, thousands of workers at federal health agencies across the country found out they were being fired. NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin is here in the studio to talk about it. Hi there.
Hi, Ari.
So who's leading this effort to lay off employees in Health and Human Services?
It is part of the DOGE effort to shrink the federal workforce. Last Thursday, Secretary of Health Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced plans to dramatically overhaul the department he oversees and cut the workforce by a total of 20,000 employees. That's almost 25% of staff. There was a loose outline of how it would go. Kennedy said it would focus on streamlining administrative work, but not a lot of details, so everyone was really holding their breath. Staff expected notices to go out on Friday, but they didn't. Over the weekend, nothing. Yesterday, nothing. Then today, around 5 a.m., reduction in force or RIF emails started to come in.
And how did the day unfold?
Well, some people woke up to the news in their inboxes. Some didn't, so they headed into work, and at several buildings there were lines of workers snaking around the block. Many found out they had been fired when they tried to badge into the building, and their badge didn't work. Jennifer Hoenig's whole team was cut. She's a statistician who oversees a national survey on drug use and health. She saw the email early this morning before going to work in Rockville, Maryland, but she says not everyone did.
Like someone on my team specifically, he was able to badge in like normal. And then he went upstairs and got the RIF notice.
She says there was someone going around to the offices who told him to leave. Another source of mine thought she was okay. Her badge worked. She was at her desk. And then she got an email that said even though she hadn't gotten a notice, she should take her laptop and, quote, exit the building as soon as possible. NPR's not naming her because she feared retaliation for speaking publicly.
Do you have a sense of who was being cut, whether it fits into any pattern?
Well, we know what HHS told us last week, but nothing more. They're not answering more follow-up questions. And part of that might be because they're cutting communications teams across HHS. What NPR's health team does know has been pieced together by sources. The picture is honestly pretty confusing. I mean, there were cuts in tobacco regulation, rare disease research, HIV prevention, fertility research, occupational safety, utility assistance for low-income people, and more. A few very high-ranking NIH directors were given an offer to transfer to the Indian Health Service and given the option of several remote posts. Even people working on chronic diseases were cut, even though Kennedy says that's part of his new focus to make Americans healthier.
You've been talking to HHS staff all day. What have you heard?
I'm hearing sadness, confusion, tears, a lot of anger. Let me tell you one story. Scott Laney has worked for CDC for almost 20 years. He's based in Morgantown, West Virginia.
I work as an epidemiologist for the Coal Workers Health Surveillance Program, which does surveillance of chest radiographs for black lung in coal miners.
I reached him today at home, and he was absolutely shell-shocked. Nearly everyone in his center, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, was cut. They do things like evaluate face mask safety, firefighter deaths on the job, and more. Their whole building in Morgantown is set up for this specialized scientific work, and he says it's now just going to sit there empty. He got choked up talking about colleagues with young families, one coworker who's pregnant and due in 6 weeks, worrying about her health insurance running out.
It's just absolutely heartbreaking, and at the same time realizing that I've lost my own job. And I don't know what I'm going to do.
And in just a sentence or two, what are Republicans saying about these cuts?
Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana invited Kennedy to come testify before the Health Committee next week to defend the reorganization and explain its goals.
NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin, thank you.
Thank you.
The Trump administration plans to restructure the federal health agencies, cutting a total of 20,000 jobs. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced the plan this morning, and NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin is here to tell us more. Hi, Selena.
Hi, Elsa.
Okay, so 20,000 jobs just seems like a lot. What is going on here?
Well, it is a lot. HHS is the umbrella agency that includes the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Medicare, Medicaid, the Food and Drug Administration, the National Institutes of Health, and other smaller divisions. And when President Trump came into office, there were 82,000 employees across all of HHS. Secretary Kennedy says many employees have already left or been fired, and with all of that, plus the jobs they're going to eliminate with this new restructuring plan, they would end up with 62,000 employees. That is a 25% reduction.
Wow. What is the rationale for such a huge staff cut?
Secretary Kennedy says HHS is a huge bureaucracy filled with silos, and he says the goal of this restructuring is to streamline. Here he is in a video he posted to social media this morning.
We're keenly focused on paring away excess administrators while increasing the number of scientists and frontline health providers so that we can do a better job for the American people.
He said he wants HHS staff to have a sense of mission, that they're improving America's health, which does lag behind a lot of other countries, and he promised they would do more with less.
Okay. Well, this isn't just a plan to cut staff, right? Like there's also a restructuring part to all this.
Right. And the plans are really quite dramatic. The number of divisions would go from 28 to 15. For example, the agency that oversees preparedness and emergency response will become part of CDC. The Administration for Community Living, which does work with seniors and people with disabilities, will get split apart and moved into other agencies. And there's also going to be a new division called the Administration for a Healthy America, which seems to be a reference to Kennedy's slogan, Make America Healthy Again. That will be made up of 5 agencies, including one on toxic substances and mental health and more.
What's been the broader reaction to this plan?
I talked to former HHS Health Secretary Kathleen Sebelius this afternoon. She and many others were really skeptical at this idea that you can cut 25% of staff of HHS and not affect the work. For instance, Kennedy says FDA staff is going to be cut by 3,500 people, but that, quote, this reduction will not affect drug, medical device, or food reviewers, nor will it impact inspectors. I asked Sebelius about that.
That's what I find so incredibly insulting. To me, what they're saying is there are 20,000 people working for HHS who do nothing.
She was especially critical of the plan to cut the number of regional offices from 10 to 5 and to combine certain agencies. Like, she questioned how it would help efficiency to combine CDC, which is in Atlanta, with the Strategic Preparedness Agency, which is in D.C. Democratic lawmakers slammed the plan overall. Also, they called for hearings about it. Others vowed to fight it. Republican lawmakers were pretty quiet.
Okay, so what's the timeline real quick for how this will all unfold?
A notice sent from HHS to union contacts obtained by NPR says that people whose jobs are being cut could get notified as soon as tomorrow, and the probable date for those cuts to take effect is May 27th.
Whew, that is NPR's Selena Simmons-Duffin. Thank you, Selena.
Thank you.
As we turn to the Trump administration's intensifying attacks on cultural institutions and diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, including the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. In February, President Trump ousted the center's longtime chair, David Rubenstein, made himself chair of the board. Trump also fired longtime president Deborah Rutter. Last week, the Kennedy Center fired at least 7 members of its social impact initiative, including its vice president, artistic director, the renowned artist Marc Bamuthi Joseph. The team aimed to expand the Art Center's reach to diverse audiences, to commission new works by Black composers. The job terminations come weeks after President Trump took over the Kennedy Center and also appointed his allies, including his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, to the board, and her mother, and Second Lady Usha Vance, and 2 hosts on Fox News, Laura Ingraham and Maria Bartiromo. Marc Bamuthi Joseph recorded this video from his office just after he was fired.
Well, I am sitting in my office at the Kennedy Center one last time. It's funny, I'm taking things down like this red, black, and green American flag and this extraordinary piece of artwork that my man Greg made that honors Stevie Wonder, and this poster from BAM, and a commemorative album that was organized by Swiss Beats. Basically, I'm taking down everything Black in my office, just as the new leadership of the Kennedy Center is doing its best to disavow much of the literal color that has made this place special. I'm grieving and angry and also ready to be rid of the moral injury that has come with being in this place. It's hard to say goodbye, but it isn't hard to say goodbye to an oppressive situation. So may liberation be my liturgy. I'm proud of what we made here. We will always have an impact.
Marc Bamuthi Joseph, speaking after he was fired as Vice President and Artistic Director of Social Impact at the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, the last time he was in his office. He joins us right now from Virginia. Welcome to Democracy Now!, Bamuthi. Talk about what happened last week. Talk about what's happening to the Kennedy Center.
Peace, Amy. Good morning to you, and good morning to everyone listening and watching. I feel so privileged to be the child of immigrants, and having lived in the state of California for a long time, moving to D.C. infused me with a different sense of patriotism and connection to the American promise, to the plurality that makes this country truly great. There has been, as you've distilled, an infusion of a kind of binary political discourse into what's supposed to be a sanctuary for freedom of thought and freedom of creative expression. The Kennedy Center, it should be said, has not officially canceled any performances or explicitly, contractually remove themselves from relationship to any artist. But as you've been describing so diligently and so bravely over the course of your entire career, we create atmosphere through rhetoric. The stated agenda, as institutionalized in spaces like the National Endowment for the Arts, let's say, severely restricts and almost criminalizes demographic realities outside of white, straight, male Christianity. The specific attack on gay, trans, and drag performers has narrowed the cultural radius at the Kennedy Center significantly, so that artists feel like they can't, in good conscience, come to the Kennedy Center. So you're seeing artists like Issa Rae, or the producers of Hamilton, or the artists Rhiannon Giddens remove themselves from their relationship to the Kennedy Center. And that in turn trickles down to the brave staff who are arts professionals who care about cultural providence and have to do their very best to make it possible for artists to continue to be at their best. But against the backdrop of this oppressive regime and this politically narrow board of directors, that's extraordinarily difficult to do.
I mean, you have this unbelievable moment that we just played. Jon Batiste playing Star Spangled Banner. President Trump is saluting at the Super Bowl, and he had just fired him from the board of trustees of the Kennedy Center, along with many others. And then John F. Kennedy, you've got the portrait there in the John F. Kennedy Performing Arts Center. And when he came for his board meeting, President Trump as chair, what he put up new portraits, himself, his wife, Usha Vance, and Vice President Vance.
Yeah, you know, what you're seeing all over government are folks who aren't necessarily experienced in the lines or departments or vectors of action that they're supposed to lead. And there is no formal experience in either nonprofits, arts management, or the art of curation that is now present at the top of the organizational chart, beginning with the board chair. So, you know, the desire to satisfy one's ego or the desire to be vengeful apparently has superseded the desire to serve this nation in terms of making safe space for artists, particularly artists from historically marginalized communities or historically minoritized communities, to thrive. The work that we did in social impact, and I'm so proud of my team, my staff, and all of my colleagues who supported us, that work was meant to focus on the historically marginalized, but also it connected to this idea of the constitutionality of inspiration. Our belief is that you cannot have access to the franchise, to the American franchise, if you don't have access to the impulse of creativity. That just like you have access to the ballot box or under equal protection under the law, under the 14th Amendment, you also have access and protection to inspiration. How can you be an American if you cannot hope? And who authors hope more than artists? So this diminishment of creativity, of ideas, the diminishment of folks' access to high-level inspired works of art is among the more un-American things I think that a leader would do.
During your time there, Marc Bamuthi Joseph, you helped launch the Culture Caucus, which offered 2-year residencies with groups that work with queer and trans youth, formerly incarcerated people, the disabled community. You also established a national partnership called Conflux, which worked with the National Arab Orchestra, the First Nations community, and World Pride. Your audience, mainly wealthy and white. And can you talk about the direction that Trump is now taking the Performing Arts Center in? We heard from Steve Bannon, one of his allies, that he had spoken to Rick Gurnell, the new head of the Kennedy Center, that they're going to be bringing one of the first performances, the January 6th choir, to perform there, to usher in a new era of culture in the new Kennedy Center.
Yeah, I won't speak to the president's curatorial tastes. They speak for themselves. I think maybe what I would point to is the list of maybe more than 200 musicians who didn't want their music played at his rallies. That speaks to a broader environment, I think, and disconnect between the arts community and the political direction of the president of the United States. All the work that you cited, that's the work that we stand on and that we're proud of. Your listeners and your viewers know going out to have a date night or a family night is increasingly expensive. Parking and food and not to mention the cost of the tickets themselves, childcare. A lot of the work that we did was we lowered the barrier to entry from a financial standpoint, but also from a social standpoint. My folks always want to know who all gonna be there, right? Well, what we did in social impact was we helped usher in a culture of invitation. The Kennedy Center, historically, at its best, produces more than 2,000 events a year. So maybe less than focus on what happens curatorially. I think we all have to ask ourselves how many artists are willing to come into a space with such a narrow field of cultural vision. What is the scale of the Kennedy Center going to be like 6 months from now or a year from now? What happens inside the building is only as powerful as the people and the artists within it. So, God bless all the curators at the Kennedy Center, but maybe more importantly, God bless the artists who now have perhaps one less venue to share their work with the world. And then God bless the audiences, because audiences, or, you know, American citizens, folks who have less access to inspiration, erode the democracy from the point of a lack of sight onto the creative horizon.
I wanted to also ask you, Bamuthi, about Trump's executive order signed last week appointing the vice president, J.D. Vance, to eliminate, quote, divisive race-centered ideology, unquote, from Smithsonian Museums, research centers, and the National Zoo. The order, called Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History, aims to remove exhibits and programs that portray U.S. history and values as inherently harmful and oppressive, unquote. It cites, in particular, the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which opened in 2016. The Smithsonian operates independently since it was established as a public-private partnership by Congress in 1846, but roughly receives 60% of its funding from the federal government. You know, you're an Oakland guy, but you've moved to Washington for your job that you were just fired from, and I'm sure you've spent time at the African American Museum. The significance of putting Vance in charge of deciding what exhibits are appropriate or not, what is American or not?
It is chilling. It is a harbinger. It is a signifier in the most ominous of terms. I think about the words of John F. Kennedy, inscribed on the wall at the Kennedy Center. Kennedy spoke of an America that was unafraid of grace and beauty. I think about the writers and the teachers who made me. Everyone from Dr. Daniel Omatosho Black at Clark Atlanta University to the author Toni Morrison, the poet Nikki Giovanni. I think about how they all authored the story of our overcoming. America is actually built on struggle, and you know, it's obviously impossible to decouple American history from a genocidal, hyper-patriarchal, hyper-capitalist frame and origin story. But the idea of democracy itself is a radical idea. The Constitution itself is a critical theory. It describes a way, a populist way that requires participation in order to actually make the country thrive. In order to fully participate in the democracy, you have to sublimate or suppress your apathy. My partners at Sozo Artists and I think about the idea that the way to turn apathy into empathy is to infuse inspiration as a conversion element. These museums, these Smithsonian museums, inspire folks because they distill the story of our overcoming. You enter, even if you entered one of the Smithsonian institutions apathetic as to the idea of struggle or overcoming, you are inspired inside of that institution, and you leave a more compassionate and more empathetic human being. So, you know, this description of what the Smithsonian institutions do, particularly, you know, what we call the Blacksonian here locally, you know, that description is severely un-American and disconnected from the American promise. But maybe more critically, it minimizes the opportunity to generate empathy among not only the citizens of this country, but visitors from all over the world.
Marc Bamuthi Joseph, I want to thank you so much for being with us. Renowned artist and playwright, fired from his role as vice president and artistic director of the Kennedy Center's Social Impact Initiative.
You know, we're talking about books here, but I'm also talking about my job. I got 2 black guys on my squad now who got their job over a couple of white guys who actually scored higher in the test. Does that make sense? Huh? Yeah, sure, everything's equal now, but I got 2 guys watching my back, responsible for my life, who aren't as good as 2 other guys. You only got the job because they were black, not because they were the best.
That sucks.
Yeah. Is that what America's about? No, America's about best man for the job. You do your best, you get the job. You know, this affirmative action crap. I don't know what that's about. There's like some hidden agenda or something going on.
Time now for StoryCorps. Robert Logan is a firefighter in San Diego. He sat down with his friend and colleague, Jason Shanley, to talk about his childhood dream of being a firefighter.
I grew up 3 to 4 houses from a fire station. As a youngster, the fire engine would go by and I would have my palms and my nose smashed against the window.
I'm picturing a little kid with a little afro.
With a dirty diaper, the faded Superman t-shirt. I thought that was the best thing in the world. When I became old enough, I went by the fire station and inquired about becoming a firefighter, but I was discouraged. And he used to be my barber when we both had hair.
No one would believe that either.
You were cutting my hair one day and he said, hey, I met these black firefighters who are having a EMT class at a fire station. So we went to class together. They offered me a job driving an ambulance for $7.25 an hour. And everybody thought I was crazy. It was rough just watching my bank account dwindle, but I had faith. And the chief, when he hired me, we had a lunch. And he told me, unfortunately, young man, you're going to have to be head and shoulders above everybody else. I knew my competition had bachelor's degrees, so I went out and got a master's degree. I knew my competition didn't have executive chief fire officer certification, so I went out and got that. The one thing he didn't tell me, when you do that, you think that the barriers will be eliminated. They're not.
One of the things I love about you is that you're able to turn real negative situations into something super positive.
I was raised by my grandmother. She lived through the civil rights movement, and she was one of the first black nurses in San Diego. So she endured a lot, but you couldn't get her to say a bad thing about anybody. She instilled those values in me, and the last thing I wanted to do was let her down. My grandmother dated this guy when I was like 6. As a firefighter, I saw him in a care facility. I explained who I was, and I could just see his face brighten up when he remembered his last couple of days on this earth. I brought back some good memories before he passed away.
He remembered the little guy with the T-shirt plastered against the window.
Yeah.
And now you're the highest-ranking African-American male in our fire department who just interviewed for the position of the fire chief. All the things that you've been through for you to be where you are right now is a testament to the type of man you are. So, yeah, it's dope.
Thank you.
Jason Shanley and Robert Logan at StoryCorps. Their conversation is part of the StoryCorps Brightness in Black project, sharing stories of black love, joy, and triumphs.
I always get back to that black love. I can't even get to the black triumph and black joy, whatever that means. Black love. Shout Pamela Evans Harris. We miss you. We did not forget Pamela Evans Harris, but I still was black love. Anyway, my historically marginalized brothers and sisters, Neutralizing Workplace Racism on a teaspoon earlier than we normally would be. Just an hour earlier for this 1 week. No permanent change or nothing. We should be back normal time next Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And in fact, we'll be here normal time tomorrow and Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, per usual. Just minor alteration for the day. Hopefully won't mess things up too much. Any hoodles. Gus T. in for another broadcast exclusively designed for non-white people to better understand white supremacy racism, what it is, how it works, what it means to be classified as white. Today's date, Thursday, April 3, 2025. So I have been told, my historically marginalized brothers and sisters. This is our weekly segment, Neutralizing Historic Marginalization in the Workplace? Is that what it would be? Neutralizing historic marginalization in the workplace? If you have commentary to share, the number 605-313-5164, the code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Number again, 605-313-5164, the code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. Not for spectators or people classified as white. If there are non-white people anywhere in the known universe and you figured out a few strategies or tips, these are things to say in the workplace, things to avoid saying, things to do, things to not do in the workplace to help minimize your historic marginalization, minimize being mistreated in a system of racism. If you figured out a few tips, let us know. We would super appreciate it. Certainly if you are having problems, if you are being mistreated, even having conflict with other non-white people, that's so common, let us know. We'll see if we can figure out ways to minimize problems, solve problems without creating new problems. Always the goal, not for spectators. The number 605-313-5164, the code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Get to some of the news reports and then we'll emails, callers, all that jazz. Let's see. The first report that we heard, I had so many notes on. Anyway, the first report that we heard, confusion. The great Neely Fuller Jr., he said, people can be driven almost insane if you can just keep them confused. You just can't figure it out and can't figure it out and can't figure it out. You can drive them insane. Every week. Confusion. Are we going to be fired? Do I still have a job? Do we have to respond to these emails? Oh my goodness. I went to bed last night, woke up 5 a.m. I was fired. I woke up and went to work. My car didn't even work. Man, that's embarrassing. Like, you talk about humiliating, and I wasted all that gas. I came in, my car did work. I'm sitting down working, and then I get the email. What are you doing here? You've been fired. Like, what? What? Confusion. Just that alone, to have, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, lots of them classified as white even, white sacrifice, for sure. But all of that confusion, even if it's not you, if it's your spouse or a parent, certainly that has a direct impact on you. Wow. Confusion. That, Fuller said that is the number one weapon in the system of white supremacy racism. That is the result when you have all the lies and deception. Confusion. You can't figure out what's going on. Doctor, what's? But not have no Marvin Gaye posters up in the workplace. But confusion, and even with that, now we just saw this with COVID-19, which, I guess some people say is not even over, but you saw all the anxiety and confusion and people fighting over a parking spot, people fighting over corn dogs at the grocery store and all that. When you get people in a long state of confusion and anxiety about the future and what's going to happen, you might see some of those same dynamics right now. Long bouts of anxiety and even a lot of people classified as white do not handle that well. Lots of evidence of that even from COVID-19, much less a lot of non-white people. Man, if you are in that position, find constructive ways to deal with that anxiety and stress. That is way easier said than done, for sure. However, every single non-white person on the planet can look forward to that same anxiety, probably. Am I going to have a job? Am I going to be fired? I wouldn't care if you're President Obama, valedictorian, got 15 Ivy League PhDs. Like, you can look forward. And I think some of those folks were in that number who got fired or might be fired in the confusion. That's the system of white supremacy racism. And it has nothing to do with your competence. It has nothing to do. You could be punctual. What did Gus say? If you can't be early, be on time. You could be early every day. I don't call out sick. I don't take off vacations. I come in. I do my work. I do high quality, competent work every day. Every day. Get amazing performance reviews. That could be you. I done drove all the way in here, and my car doesn't even work. Why is that? Leroy, you've been fired. Get on out of here. That's any of us. And I would say, be honest about that with your offspring. Number one, be honest about that with yourself. And then if you got offspring, that would be 1B. Be honest with your offspring. I'm going to say again, nobody, if you have children, you don't need no book. You don't need to go and pester Ta-Nehisi Coates. Why don't you write a book about what black parents need to tell their children and all that? You don't need to do that. You don't need to go and whine. Wayne Fuller, tell us, Wayne, I asked Fuller, what we do teaching children about racism? What has your workplace experience been? Take out the expletives. Sit down, little junior. Sit down, your daughters. And what has your workplace experience been? Even if you are an entrepreneur, what has your workplace experience been? With white people, directly, indirectly. You can get to the non-white people too. And then, if you got extra time, which you should, it's your child, what has your academic experience been? Kindergarten, GED, community college, trade school, grad school, post-grad, all the way through. There you go. There you go. That's what they're telling, because you don't need nobody to tell you about your experience going to school in a system of white supremacy. Who knows that better than you? Ditto for your work experience. That's what you tell your child. That's what you can start with right there. And then you can branch out to other family members and the place that you live. That's easy. Really easy. You shouldn't need in fact, then you can go get books and learn about racism, white supremacy in your local region, local system of white supremacy racism, and the history, refinement, expansion of that system. Easy. But you start with, hey, I could be fired today. You got Employee of the Month last month. I could be fired today. And I would tell him, hey, you see, I got the Employee of the Month award here. I don't keep that at work. Why? That is not my office. I could be fired today. My card doesn't work, and then I can't even go get my Employee of the Month award, which I may or may not want to keep, but then I don't even have the option. And we talked about this, you're not going to do me dirty double now. Shouldn't say dirty. You're not going to treat me niggardly, double whammy me. You're not going to waste my gas, drive all the way out here. Oh, you fired, Leroy. What? Dang. Then I got to do the walk of shame, as they call it. I done decorated my office. You hear all that, my black brother out there at the Kennedy Center that they let go, Marc Bamuthi Joseph, black, privileged black male, even though you don't have 8 great grandparents born in Georgia, but still, privilege, extra privilege maybe, black man. He said, man, I take down my Stevie Wonder paraphernalia, my Swiss Beats paraphernalia, but all the negritude on the wall, it had to go. They done DEI'd my red, black, and green flag and everything. One more time. It is not your office, and I've said that for anybody, President Obizi, First Lady Michelle Obama, whoever it is not your office. You could be thrown out anytime. So we're not doing all that decorating and all that stuff unless you're an entrepreneur and you own the building. Unless that's the case, no. I'm not putting up, you put all your Stevie Wonder plaques and signed albums and everything, put that up at home, at your house, residence. The workplace issue, if that happens to you, ain't no walk of shame. I don't have nothing in my office but the things I need to get my work done. The maximum I might need to go, let's see, my business cards, grab those, boop. I know some of the young ladies, it gets cold in the office, they have the AC up real high, they'll have like a sweater or what have you that they just kind of leave in the workplace to keep warm. Make sure I get my little sweater, keep warm, my next job, and I'm out of here. I don't need no box. I don't need no folder. I don't keep nothing on their machine, computer, tablet, whatever it is. Nothing. No saved information. I don't keep none of my pics. Nothing. I don't store no food in the desk, none of my personal belongings. I don't have no family portraits or nothing else that I need to take off the wall. None of that. I don't even have no plants here. Keep my plants at home. I don't have none of that. Don't even take me 5 minutes to clean nothing out because I don't have things I need to do the job. And most of it, if not all of it, is their property. I could just walk myself out. Thank you kindly. Even if you're going to be on the job for 50 years, I still say same thing. I'm not decorating. You're not coming in my office and look at all the stuff that you want to make rules to see if you can take it down or vandalize or copy or whatever. Or at minimum, just come to Snoop so I can study my nigras. This nigger likes Stevie Wonder. Write that down. Write that down. Write that down. No. Like, nope. I'm not on that. This is not my property, and I'm not going to even allow myself to get that comfortable on the plantation. Reminder of where I am. Dangerous environment. But confusion. All of the folks who, if we have folks who are dealing with all of that and or witnessing how other folks are coping with all of the confusion and anxiety, especially amongst federal employees, let us know. Let's see. And they talked about lots of health cuts. That I thought was important as well, because I think that's something that would have a disproportionate impact on people classified as black, non-white people in general. They were talking about some of these areas in health and human services, CDC, and other programs where they investigate health disparities, and Food and Drug Administration, other programs that would be helpful, beneficial to non-white people in some sense. Getting rid of jobs and people who do this work. Well, I could see a lot of this being, eroding. In fact, I talked about this maybe 10 years ago, and other people had talked about this with things like schools, roads, water systems in cities, that there was going to be a lot of erosion of infrastructure. I would just call this the same thing. This is more social infrastructure for this part of the world, but undercutting all of these health and human services programs, and particularly in an environment where you have an increasing percentage of non-white people and non-white children. Oh yeah, directly. Same reason, shut down Department of Education. All same thing. White genetic annihilation. End stage white supremacy. Dr. Welsing talked about that. Now specifically with Marc Bamuthi Joseph, privileged black male. He was the former vice president and artistic director of social impact at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. So, man, we're talking about John F. Kennedy tomorrow, and they've been talking about John F. Kennedy all week. Negro lover, which has been amazing, but they've been talking about John F. Kennedy all week. Congressional. Whew. Anyway, book club tomorrow, normal time. But they had privileged black male on. I already said he his great-grandparents and all was not born in this part of the world, so you got these old pretend black people. That said, he sounded so hurt about losing his job, and that's one thing that I will say. I've said this before as well. Any non-white person victim of racism, you put in all that hard work, diligence, working, other piddling jobs to finally secure that position that you really, really want. The job you were excited to get, and maybe you make a lot of money, and you get to work with amazing people that you always wanted to work with, or you get to do projects, types, complete things that you always wanted to work on or build, whatever, or it could be a confluence of those factors, whatever. You get that job in the system of white supremacy, racism. That's why I said, even then, you have to be very honest. I could be fired in the next 5 seconds. And it's not even necessarily because I did something wrong. I could have been great. Doesn't matter. Says that plantation. The half has never been told. Many a slave was beaten, not because they did something wrong. Race soldiers, I love to torture Negras. I love to humiliate a Negra. Nothing make my day more than humiliating a Negra. Have to be honest, but even with so-called dreaming, maybe even adjusting the thinking, in the system of white supremacy, racism, maybe there's no such thing as a dream job or what have you. This is just, the job that I have for the time being. Hopefully is constructive. Hopefully I don't have too many problems. Hopefully I am compensated adequately. Hopefully I don't have to deal with too much mistreatment, but whatever it is, even if it is the most constructive and enjoyable job that you could imagine, even then, race soldiers can take it away from you in 5 seconds. You just have to be very honest. Like I said, at minimum, have to be honest with yourself about that. And you have to be honest with your offspring about that too, if you have them. Painfully honest. And that's another reason, be frugal. I'm not going out here and getting cashmere furniture and decorating my office and all the rest of it. All this could be gone in the next 5 seconds. I'm going to be saving my coins so they don't, because you even heard some white people on there crying, talking about, man, we've been working and about to have a child, and oh my goodness, and what are we going to, white people don't get fired, they get sacrificed, or they get transferred. I could have said sacrifice too, I guess, but they get transferred. Those all white sacrifice, and I'm very sure those white people will, what they call it, land on their feet. Much better than Leroy and Lakeisha. Much better. That's it. Mr. Marc Bamuthi Joseph, victim of racism. I do want to say that, victims guaranteed qualified, and he was traumatized. He really sounded mad. I really enjoyed this job and the work that he did and all that, even though it seemed very focused on anti-sex, BGQ. But Amy flippin' Goodman is not brave. If I die or we don't get to do the rest of the program because we started too early or whatever, make sure I am not misunderstood. Suspected race soldier Amy Goodman is not brave. Now, he could break down, whatever permutation of that word he means when he says brave, whatever definition in any dictionary, thesaurus you ever locate. She does not qualify. You find a lexicographer. You say, do you know any other, even the strangest of meanings for brave? They will not fit Amy Goodman. A white woman, suspected racist, sitting behind a camera and talking. She doesn't even talk about racism, white supremacy. She talks about Ed Snowden. She spent 8 years talking about what a lame President Obese was, and often bringing on Cornel West and other people that are classified as not white to bash and talk bad about President Obama. I don't find nothing brave about that. In fact, I think that's kind of cowardly. Racial showcasing, dare I say, but I don't find nothing brave about Amy. I mean, you got to be out. Victims guaranteed, qualified, and he was so traumatized. He, victim, Mr. Joseph. Now, not brave, Amy Goodman, suspected racist. Now, when he was talking about all of it, really, VGQ, he was under a lot of trauma, but words are very important. It doesn't seem like there was a lot of direct attention to racism, white supremacy at all, even though it seems like that is exact. I mean, he started off saying, get rid of anything black. Why can't we say that as opposed to historically marginalized and historically minoritized? That's another one. Like, what? We start in democracy now. They even called this segment, get rid of anything black. Historically minoritized? What does VGQ? Don't even worry about it. Brother Joseph, don't even worry about it. He said that, well, they talked about all of the, I guess, different programs and bringing these white people in. Vance Joseph, vice president, he gets to come in now and decide what's going to be at the Smithsonian. White people are in charge. And that's why, again, I keep saying we should be honest about that with ourselves at all times. And we start lying about that, not being truthful about that. I think that leads to a lot more emotional responses, and sometimes us being surprised about some of these things happening where we're not really paying attention. We're not really being honest with ourselves about these things. That's another part of it. I think it's just my theory. In fact, this is my conclusion. I have concluded if we can be honest about racism, white supremacy, the power dynamics, what's happening at work at all time, the limited power that we have as victims in that system, I think that can go a long way to minimizing some of the emotional responses that we often have to the system, and helping us come up with better solutions to this problem, as opposed to just being emotionally devastated. What? I gotta take down my Stevie Wonder picks, and what? Swiss Beats has been DEI'd? What? Oh, I'm crestfallen. Like, I know not to have all this stuff up anyway. Like, what? Let's see. It's even for me, it is related. I just have to get in because when he was talking, he was like, it was so hard. I had Boys to Men, It's So Hard to Say Goodbye in my brain computer, but that is, neither here nor there. But when I heard Mr. Joseph's segment, it was so much connected to the next segment that was on StoryCorps, that's NPR, with Robert Logan. He was talking about growing up in California, bad air, San Diego, a little bit further south than LA, and wow, I want to be a firefighter. Long tradition of white supremacy racism to make sure we do not want no privileged black males, even those that got 8 black great-grandparents born in Georgia. Even you get on out. No Negroes on the fire department. And he talked about, he said, I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to go ahead and, even though I know I'm historically minoritized, but I want to get on the fire truck, man. That seemed cool. And he said, okay. He went. He goes to the fire department, and he's going through training and everything. And he said that the chief said, hey, look here. It's going to be hard, black brother. You've been historically minoritized. So you're going to have to be head and shoulders better than everybody else. Metaphor. What does that mean? What does that mean? You're going to have to be head and shoulders better than everybody else. What? What? And so then what does that mean? I started looking around and I saw that all the other firefighters, they had a BA. I went and got a master's. I saw that none of the other firefighters, presumably white, none of them had an executive chief fire officer degree, and I don't either. He said, I went and got one. I hit the applause button, right? I mean, right on Robert Logan. In fact, he reminded me of one of the few constructive things that I did say about Dr. Maya Angelou while we were reading her memoirs, I think a few times. She did not perform in a shiftless manner when she got jobs. When it comes to the workplace, even if she would get hired for a job where she was not qualified, she would put in all the time before she started that first day. I'm going to go to the library, I'm going to get books, I'm going to go talk to people, and I'm going to sit my hind parts down, and I'm going to study. I'm not going to fake it until I make it. I'm going to study and learn and get the skills so that I am competent to do this job and to retain this job for as long as the white people will allow. That reminded me of Mr. Logan. I know and being observant, and that's something I recommend. You go on these jobs, I say that all the time. Do not be silent and just mute. I never speak to anybody. No, I've said for years consistently, I don't think I've ever deviated from this. You speak to everybody every day. You're in contact with these people and you ask for the job, so you always speak. I've just said consistently, you want to be more asking questions. You don't be talking all about your private business and like having all your pictures and times you met Stevie Wonder and all that. You want to be more focused. Oh, where'd you go to school? The callers said, oh, they were talking about you went to UW. Oh, wow, you out there alums with old Ted Bundy, right? The white fella didn't want to talk no more after that, which is fine. But you just getting information about them. You do your own recon. See what type of credentials they got. Since I'm old ignorant Leroy, I'm old dropout high school Lakeisha on affirmative action. What's your credentials? Where'd you go to school? Oh, okay. You got a BA? You got a master's? Okay. You do your own study. Like he didn't do. Wow. All these folks, they just got bachelor's degrees. Now, real talk. Mark G.E.D. Furman, Ed Community College, Snowden. Individuals classified as white, it seems, frequently do not need a BA or no other BS. Mark G.E.D. Furman. They don't need all that, man. And they lie about them BAs sometimes. Remember Varsity Blues where they pretend like, yes, I got Phi Beta Kappa from USC, yes, and then find out they can't spell Phi Beta, they can't spell USC. So, maybe they got the BA, maybe they don't. I am so glad. In addition, now, all of that, like I said, is bravo. Spectacular work from Mr. Logan. Seeing a goal, I think they're going to practice racism and keep me from it. They say I got to be head and shoulders above. What does that mean? Let me codify it. That means they got BAs. I'm going to go get a master's degree. Nobody here has that executive chief fire officer degree. I'm going to get me one. Spectacular. But, and I'm glad they didn't leave it out, he said, I did all that. That white man did not tell me that getting all those extra pieces of paper, Invisible Man, that does not stop them from historically minoritizing me. That, underline, bold, as I go back to all of what I said now, you can be fired at any time. System of white supremacy. Slaves can be beaten, always. Reason, no reason. That's what white supremacy racism means. That is so important. You can do all this. You can be like a non-Clemson grad. I'm valedictorian, man. Now, I ain't go to Clemson, but hey, I'm a smart colored boy. You're a contagion, a rapist, and we're not even going to give you an interview. Now get on out of here. They might do that. They might do that. Young academic, I am dedicated. I want to teach. I'm not here raping no children. I'm not Mary Kay Letourneau. I'm trying to help my little brothers out. Stop beating on each other's head. We're going to learn about what CTE is. Especially we find out you don't want to date Mary Kay Letourneau. You get on out of here too. No count Negro males trying to teach and rape and all the rest, or act like they don't want to date. Get on out of here. Just get on out of here. That can happen. You say, well, Brother Gus, how is that motivating? How does that make me want to go out and do my best? Hey, it does crush motivation for many non-white people, particularly motivation to do something constructive. Why, I want to be like non-Clemson dad. Be valedictorian if they not even going to let me get an interview. They not even going to do my computer right. Sabotaging me left and right. Well, the alternative, now we can sit around, watch TV all day long, Netflix all day long, or we can be serious and try and solve this problem, which means being the best that we can, doing your best, because guaranteed you are trying to do something constructive and being your best. I can guarantee you, I can bet everything I have in the world, you will run into racist man, racist woman, racist child. That is a guarantee. Now, if you're doing something that's nonsense, maybe not. Sometimes they come to laugh. We're doing stupid stuff, so, maybe. But what my brother, Mr. Logan, said, barrier. That's the barrier. Racist man, racist woman, racist child, which is that's something to think about. Like, who are these people? I just want to be a firefighter. I'm willing to go to school. White people frequently, they don't make getting a master's free, so I'm willing to put money and time and energy. I could be watching Netflix. No, I'm a study. I want to be like retired firefighter. Not the Opalaka 3-part, but I want to be cool and save lives. You got to do CPR to be in the fire department, right? Hey, I'm trying to say I want to help do justice. Nah. Get on out of here, Leroy. Name's Logan. Get on out of here, Leroy. Who are these people? That's another one to think about, too. All the racism in the workplace, people trying to do correct things, trying to be a firefighter, trying to be a nurse, and y'all just going to come and call me a nigger? What do it mean to be white? And that's one right there. You got to tell children, because that you talk about confusion. Now, y'all done sat here and fussed at me, snatched me out of bed early in the morning, go to school, study, be like non-Clemson dad, be valedictorian. I gotta do all this, and then they won't even give me a job, which is very, very common. And the result is, most of the time, if it's not racism and white people deliberately mistreating me, being a barrier for me trying to be constructive, if it's not them doing that, it's me. I didn't wear the right clothes. I had my pants hanging off my behind. I should have gone to Clemson or whatever, as opposed to, nah. These white people are just practicing racism. Period. Like I said, you don't need no book for that. You can just talk to what has your work experience been? That's anybody anywhere in the world. Now, who knows your work experience better than you? And if it is somebody who can say, yes, well, Petey know my work experience better than me, have Petey talk to your child. Who knows your school experience better than you? That's what you talk to your child with. You can start right there. You don't need to hear nothing about what James Baldwin's saying, Dr. Welsing saying. As a matter of fact, Dr. Welsing said that. Talk to your child. Talk to him honestly about racism, and starting point, you can get the newspaper, and more importantly, Life and Times of Dad, 5th grade. Ooh. You can go right there. My first job. Ooh. There you go, right there. Right there. Called me the Contagion, you know. Anyway, number 605-313-5164. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Shout out again to Mr. Marc Bamuthi Joseph. I do appreciate him because that is kind of humiliating, and to lose a job sound like it was all still fresh and difficult for them. I do appreciate him sharing because I think that is very important. But I also think words and how we articulate and understand. They did that whole segment about removing black people, and I don't think I heard the word racism one time. I had to go back and look at the transcript, but I don't think I heard the word racism, certainly not white supremacy, one time. That's what I mean about Amy Goodman is not brave to me, suspected racist. VGQ. 605-313-5164. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Let's see. NAB. Folks who dialed in and emails as well. Let's see. I will grab an email first, then we'll nab folks who dialed in as well. Let's see. Email number 1. Okay. untiljustice@gmail.com. Oh, we got the layoffs. Today, during a team meeting, there were a few chuckles around the recent Department of Health and Human Services, which we heard about, layoffs, and a recurring weekly meeting which regularly exceeds the scheduled time due to too much non-work-related chatter. Now, how often do we end up talking about that? Gossip, food talk, TV shows, all kinds of wasting time. They waste so much time and energy. A white woman stated that our work with Health and Human Services may be paused as they figure out who still works there. She went on to state that some higher-ups were offered opportunities to transfer to places like the Indian Health Services. We heard that in the clip. But her tone during and chuckle after the statement implied that wasn't a desirable alternative. The way that when they described it in the report, it seems so random. Like whatever my normal work has been at Health and Human Services, and they have so many departments within all of that. Now I'm in what? The Indian what? You what? You got me over here in the reservation with come on. Like, you talk about niggardly assignment. Like, come on. That's why she's thinking of racist jokes and when she's go to the Indian, work with the Indian niggers. And just put Elizabeth Warren over there. Let's see. The federal agency I work for has not been targeted for reductions in force thus far, as it is within the legislative branch of government. However, I do not suspect that will remain the case through the entirety of this administration. Intelligent. As it stands, the agency still enjoys mass teleworking and has not implemented any executive orders or directives. That's wow. Now, see, I talked about that too, because they've been saying all this about, people got to be in person and blah, blah, blah. And even private sector, Amazon right here, Seattle and other places have been saying you got to be in person. We're done with all that. I said, just like with the COVID vaccines, is this going to be enforced? It's a whole lot of white people. We played reports where they said, man, I don't care what y'all talking about. We've been chilling at home. I've been in my footies doing Zoom for 3-4 years now. I'm not giving this up. I don't care what y'all talking about. Like, what is it? Well, fire me. Do what you're going to do. I'll be at home. Get me on the Zoom. They said it was racks, loads of white people here in Washington State. They were saying that for a long time. I moved to other states from where I'm hired and all that. It's not even feasible for me to come back in the office. Do what you're going to do. I said that then. Are they going to enforce this? They're talking all that, big talk. People got to come back in the office and blah, blah, blah. Really? Is that going to be uniformly enforced? Everybody? Be observant, B. So they got lots of folks, I guess, still teleworking, chilling. I attend all meetings which are held on Zoom with my camera off. I only appear on camera when I am hosting a meeting or when I meet one-on-one with a colleague. I found this practice most helpful when my immediate supervisor directs tacky comments at me. It eliminates the desired effect of a reaction by me remaining on mute with my camera off. During instances like today, when coworkers make racist, tacky, insensitive statements, I'm reminded why I elect not to be on camera. Now, I certainly can relate to the mute portion of it as much as I use my mute button hosting this broadcast, but I think that is excellent codification, particularly if you think this is so standard operating procedure, white people baiting us. They want to get a reaction. They want to get a response. I'll say something racist, nigger jokes, whatever, even all that about, working at the Indian Health Bureau, Indian Health Services, all that, to see how the non-white people respond. I'm not going to have my face on the camera, and I'm going to be muted. That way I have opportunity to think. I can even pretend that I was talking and thought I was unmuted, so I can even delay a little bit longer to really get my thoughts together if I got to say something or whatever else. But I think that is a great idea. I think we started talking about with COVID when this became more prominent. Same thing I say for the workplace, really. You do not want to be showing off everything on the Zoom, and I'm going to go and show off my whole living room and my library and what books I read, or go, set up my computer and everything in a space where they can see all my family relatives on the wall and where we went for vacation, on all of that. Might as well take all that stuff and put it up in the workplace. No. And you can blur the background so that you're not sharing all that, or I don't even need to have my camera on. I got my keyboard, I can, comment away, and then I got my mic if I need to say something. If I don't, I mute. And they've had so many whoops, and all kinds of whoops, where I had my mic unmuted and my child ran in, or I had my mic unmuted and, my partner or somebody in the background, they were singing Snoop Dogg out loud. What is going on, Jen and Jew? What? That's what. Just leave it muted. That way we can minimize the whoopses, and then particularly if they're trying to get a response from you and see how they've done this 2-3 times. Unless they change the rule up and say, oh man, you got to be on camera. We like to see our niggers. If they don't change it up, no camera, I'm on mute, and I'm just observing. And then I can take screenshots. That's what I would recommend. If this is a habitual thing, we get on, our group meetings or Zoom or whatever it is, and we make racist comments and all the rest of it, screenshot, especially if it's one of those where these written comments or whatever it is, and they disappear as soon as the chat goes, oh yeah, screenshot all of that. If they are verbalizing these racist statements and what have you, you can record. They have that feature on most of the apps where you can, even if it's just isolated to your machine, and a lot of times you can check and see if the Zoom is going to be recorded. But oh yeah, record all that. Record if they're going to be habitually doing that. Record, screenshot, save all of that. That could be for your records. I would pile all of that up. It doesn't get triple T's. It does not get any better than tacky. And that's what I mean, too, about to be expected. Even this, you can tell your children this, too. You can tell your children this, too. And sit around and talk. White people will say they are ignorant, collectively, about racism, white supremacy. Really? Just something like that with Indian health services. And the, you know what? Does that sound like people? And the snickering. She said even that, when same, like I said, you can listen to the report. You could even do the double on them, right? You could explain what happened in the meeting, and then you go get the news reports and get more detail about this and see what they think. Doesn't that sound way better? Talk about that with your offspring than, whatever was on TikTok today, whatever we watched on Netflix. You can still do all that, but I mean, you can take 30 minutes and just, this is what happened at work. What does it mean to be white? Then we go look at the news. Something to think about. Email untiljustice@gmail.com. Great recommendations with the camera, and again, screenshot all of that. Anybody that does workplace meetings or anything like that, and people are cutting the foot, being unprofessional, or any of that, sleep, unprofessional, any violation of policy and procedure in those Zoom proceedings or online meetings or anything like that, document. Let's see. Number 605-313-5164. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Kind of smoothing into our normal broadcast time for folks if they're maybe sliding in late today, since we came on an hour early, just for today, getting back normal broadcast time tomorrow and through, but on a little early today for folks who might have been confused. I tried to announce it earlier this week once I recognized, we need to be here just a little bit early for Thursday, but routines and all that. Any hoodles. 605-313-5164. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Great suggestions with regards to the Zoom meetings from our first person who wrote in. Let's do email number 2 while folks are getting their thoughts together and such. Let's see. Second email, different young lady, someone who has the non-white supervisor and lots of lazy white people that I suspect are upset about working with all these non-white managers, supervisors type of thing. She writes, hi Gus, Cal's audience. Shelly has been fixated on me ever since she arrived at the company a year ago, and like all suspected racists, she has a conquering spirit. Don't they all? Let's see. I've been leading a project since November, which is complex and has the interest of senior managers. At the time, Shelley was leading a few projects, one that is also of special interest to senior managers, mainly because they want another branch of the company to take it off their hands. I presented the project I'm leading at a board meeting before Christmas. When I was responding to questions, Shelley made a point of adding on to my answers to give the impression that she's involved in the project, knows the answer to the question raised even though she didn't know what the hell she was talking about, and that she's my boss. There, see that last one now, of course. I am the boss of this nigger woman. Of course I am. If anything intelligent that she knows, she got it from me. I've been, schooling her and coaching her a little bit up in the background. She's a little slow, but, I am the boss of this. That is so common. Man, she continues, I ignored her and her comments as to do otherwise would have drawn more attention to her, which was her objective. Before I went on leave in February, Shauna, that's non-white supervisor, shared some of Shelley's ideas about the project I'm leading during one of our catch-up meetings and said that Shelley is interested. I didn't respond. When I returned from leave, Shauna was being nice to me, which immediately made me uncomfortable. She was gushing with praise and false compliments. I did all the compliments and flattery, like, man, any other time we would be kinky head coons. Ain't that true? Any other time. Like, they don't have no whole lot of compliments and all that. George Floyd, Tamir Wright, none of us. Michelle Obama, none of us. Any other time, we would be no-count coons. Isn't it true? Even from a lot of other non-white people, our other brothers and sisters, because I just said Shauna is a non-white female, I think classified as black specifically. So, if that's the case, if that's true, we don't have no, I love my black brothers and sisters. Which you come, oh my goodness, honey, you just look so cute today. Are those new? You got your nails done? You got your hair done? Oh my God, I haven't even seen that skirt before. That's new? Oh man, look at you killing them for the spring. Whoa. Now, this the same person when I said, hey, I sprained my ankle. Let me see the x-ray. This the same person. The same person. Come on now. Real talk. I would much rather you believe me when I say I sprained my ankle and you don't ask me for an x-ray, as opposed to you, oh man, you just look so fine. You're the most handsome black boy I've seen this year. Wow. That's about it. That's it. With Mr. Fuller, Mr. Fuller. She continues. She told me how much she missed me and that she was glad I was back. We talked for over an hour, mainly about nonsense. It didn't waste any time. Then, just as the meeting was about to end, she informed me that she had asked Shelley and Zoe to be on standby to pick up elements of the project if senior managers give the go-ahead to them. She then ended the call. I thought about what she said for a few seconds, then called her back and asked for clarification and specifically if I was no longer the project lead. She told me that she didn't say that. I repeated that I was checking what she was saying. Now, obviously, it's not my project, so I don't really have a say. I said that I wanted to choose the areas I wanted to keep if there is a decision to bring in others. Shauna's response was, of course, yes, you and I will plan out what needs to be done, and you can decide on what you'll need. Shauna needs me to map out the project as she doesn't understand it. Man. Whew. Man. If I asked Shauna to take over Shelley or Zoe's projects, I would feel the effects of her wrath. She dropped the fake niceness after that conversation. In fact, got quite nasty. That's what I'm saying. Now, if every day it's get on out of here, you gold bricker and shiftless coon, and I don't want to hear nothing about you broke your back and broke your ankle and broke your, just get on out of here, coon, and stop all that fake limping. Now, if that's what it is, and hey, I said, let's just be honest about things. We don't have black brothers and sisters. No problem. That's what I'm going to be prepared. And I say the same thing. Don't be mute. I don't say go in and ignore Shauna and give her nasty looks and nothing like that. No problem. Morning, Shauna. Have a great day, Shauna. See you tomorrow. That's every day. We asked for the job. Not coming in to start a fight and all that, trying to minimize conflict. But, oh, man, if you are on hostilities every day and then you come in all of a sudden, oh, man, it's so good to see you and bless your hearts. Whoa. Like that, and for real, that might be the response anyway. Like, what is going on here? We're still on the plantation and you, man, let me just, let's hold on. Let's hold on. Let's get through the day first before we get into all the sweetie pies and such. Let's see. Our team has taken on more work, so I'm not sure what management plans are for the project I'm leading. But Shelley is going full steam ahead with her plans for the project. The head of a team I work with on the project I lead started sending emails to Shelley and Zoe about the project. Shauna and I had several meetings with him, racist suspect, over the past few months, so there should be no confusion. Yet he went to Shelley and Zoe with a query, but didn't include me or Shauna, and I think our writer and Shauna are both Negras. See that? That is so, and Shauna's the supervisor. Like, she's not just the custodian. I mean, anyway, this is so common. And see, I had said this before. It took me a while, like I had to, because I'm not working there, right? I said, I'm not the expert on her work experience. She is, see? But I had to hear, like, her telling me different elements of this, of both the white people that she works with and the non-white people. Unless my memory is off, there's a non-white male who is like the boss. And then she just told us Shauna is her immediate supervisor as a black female. She, our writer, black female, and she's supposed to be leading this project. These people, the white people that she's talking about, are shiftless, lame, incompetent, racist. Now, I should have started with racist, but all of that is important. I just was processing a few weeks ago, Mr. Fuller, he said you get white people in positions, jobs, where, wait a minute, I'm not in charge. You got all these niggers that, are bossing us around and leading projects and telling what am I here for? I don't care if I'm a white woman and I stole the petty cash and I'm here in my footies. I am white. I could be naked and full of sin. I could be naked. I'm white. You don't have coons bossing me and telling me that I'm going to lead the project. Sit me on the sub. What? And then the coon is in charge, and then the other coon is lead. What? We white. I'm in my footies. I'm white. I'm supposed to be. Matter of fact, put me in charge of this nigger woman's project. You make me and Zoe, we going to be the boss. Y'all don't even know what you do. I'm going to take my footies off. I'm put on my work clothes. We going to be in charge. We the boss. And then other white people who know these white chicks are incompetent. They seen them in footies. They know all of this. Cut them nigger women out. Wait a minute. And she said, we've been on this project for months. We started this last year. I don't talk to them nigger women anyway. This goes back to the fire department. This job, I don't think she told us they at the fire station, so I don't think this is life and death in that sense, but still. Who are these people classified as white? You got a competent black dude, correct intentions. I want to be on the fire department and, man, go out, save lives. Boom, 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 boom. Man, we don't want to get another Opalaka 3. Get him on out. You got competent black people who can do this work. Sometimes seem like these are the only competent people here. Where's the white chick who stole the petty cash? Let's get her. Yeah. Let's like, what? What does it mean to be white? That's another reason why I say any of these white people that lose their job, FDA, CDC, National Health Human Services, white people don't get fired, they get transferred. There might be some white sacrifice, but I even doubt that. They get so many lame, inept white people, they will be fine. They probably won't even have to get unemployment. They will be fine. Any hoodles. So they started ignoring black people. Shelley forwarded me the emails and stated I was best placed to respond, but in a way that didn't actually clarify I'm the lead and she and Zoe are not involved. I thanked everyone and said I'd follow up the query. I deliberately didn't answer the question with everyone on the main email chain, which is what Shelley wanted, so she can start to understand the project and usurp me. It's usurpation at every turn. Like, dang, you got the incompetent racist, and they don't take over this nigger woman's project. And you got the black female. I'm going to take over this nigger woman's project. You don't really know what you're doing. I'm going to take over this nigger woman's project. system of, well, see, again, that's why I say you can be fired at any moment. This is the way. Does it sound like she's surrounded by people that got her back, black or white, non-white or white? Think she's competent? It's not like she's on probation. She's been there for a while. We don't care about none of that. Shut up, old nigga woman. Get out of here. We don't talk. She trained some of them. She trained some. Come on. Anyway, usurpation at every turn. You can expect that too. Last week, the racist suspect male sent an email to me, Shelly and Zoe, about our respective projects. I responded that I would get back to him on the project I lead, and Shelly and Zoe would respond to his other queries. Shelly then wrote that the project I lead comes under the umbrella of the project she and Zoe are leading, but she would bow to my expertise. Are you serious? That's so clownish. She has that in quotes. What does it mean to be white? Wow. I mean, I'm not even qualified to do this project. What she said, I'm not even qualified for this, and this is actually my project, because you know this nigga woman ain't charging nothing, but since I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm going to go on and let this nigga woman lead. But just know, we are actually in charge, me and old Zoe here, not this nigga woman. Thank you. Like, what? What does it mean to be white? And that's it. Boss, I don't care what the circumstances are, man. Like, Mark G.E.D. Furman, I'm boss. Ed Community College Snowden, I'm boss. I'm valedictorian. Shut up. Didn't even go to Clemson. Shut up, you raping contagion. Shut up. I'm boss. Can't even get an interview. I'm valedictorian. Can't even get an interview. Shut up. I'm boss. I'm in charge. Well, what does it mean? That's why I said we got to go back. He said, Mr. Logan, Leroy, Mr. Logan, he said, man, they said I got to be head and shoulders above everybody, which it sounds like our writer is. I'm head and shoulders better than everybody. That don't mean nothing. You got to tell your children that. Got to tell you, that's when you cannot let non-white children learn that one the hard way, because that is real pain, can be devastating when you have to learn that one the hard way. Ooh, I went to school for all these years and they still gonna tell me I'm a dumb nigger? Yep. I got valedictorian and they thought, yep. You saw Obama, shouldn't even be no surprise about it at this point. Like, oh, Ivy League degree. He's not even a citizen. Get your Kenyan nigger hind parts on out of here. Dang. What does it mean? I mean, that's when you really got to talk to your children about in the workplace. Like, whoo, because you talk about confusion. You done all this meritocracy and work hard and She continues. So they're gonna bow to the Negro's expertise. More fake praise in the face of deception. I replied with a clarification email correcting what she said. I then told the racist suspect male I would get back to him directly, which I did without including Shelly and Zoe. I didn't tell Shauna because even though Shelly and Zoe are clearly undermining us both, Shauna doesn't have my back. That is also a big one. You got to tell your offspring. We get so mad and upset about this. I think a lot of it is having incorrect expectations in terms of what it means to be classified as black, and think, oh, this is my black brother and they got black love. That's the black love. They said at the beginning. They said that. That was historical. They said with Robert Logan, they said we need black triumph and black joy and black love. No, we don't. We need truthful, accurate information about what racism, white supremacy is, how it works, because that's another report. They got all the way through that and nobody said racism, which is why you don't have black firefighters. What else is it? Barriers? What barrier? It isn't metaphor. Is there was some sort of physical impediment that blocked the door? You couldn't slide down the pole? No, it was racist white people. You got to be head and that's John Henryism too. Got to go and do all this extra work, and then you do all that, and then they still, Leroy. My name Logan. Leroy. Probably cheated to get this. Got this old fake affirmative action master's degree. You don't even have a master's degree. Matter of fact, you don't even have a bachelor's degree. Mark GED Furman. So what? Fuller told you, I don't even have to have clothes on, much less a degree. I'm white. And you still haven't learned that, which we haven't. And the other thing, we ain't got no each other. We ain't even got our own back, much less another black person's back. That's so important. That's so important because you have to have that in your brain computer. You can't be thinking that, yeah, I can go tell this other black person they're going to be with me and Nope. This is the same black person who said, you twisted your ankle. Let me see the x-ray. Oh, gold bricking nigger. Like, wait a minute. I just wanted to. Black brothers, anyway, she said, meanwhile, the white woman is after Shauna's job. To be expected. That's why I said, like, it's usurpation all around in the workplace. That's what we got from everybody. White people, non-white people. That's what we got. Whew, man, much obliged. The email, untiljustice@gmail.com. Untiljustice@gmail.com. The number, 605-313-5164. The code, 564943. Pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Let us know if you have, as I said, if we have any other folks, if you have been impacted by the job cuts and all the rest, or I guess even the tariffs, because they've been, talking about that as well, like that. My VGQ, my suggestion, same thing I've said forever, I would not talk about politics in the workplace. That would include, I'm not talking about the job cuts, and I'm not talking about the tariffs. Now, slight caveat, if it's your job that might be cut, obviously that might be something that pops up for discussion in the workplace. I would be very careful even then about what you say. I would not be ranting, angry, current administration and how dare they. None of that. Even if you do feel that way, I wouldn't express that in the workplace around white people or non-white people. I would listen to what they say. Obviously, I hope I keep my job, but I would not do no venting, ranting, complaining. If anything, asking questions, suggestions on things we can do to try to secure our employment as best we can. Heads up if anybody gets information that, looks like we ain't gonna be working here much more. If you can get that information sooner than later, so you can try and stay out of that group of folks that we heard about who coming in to work at 6, 8, whatever time you get there, and oh man, my car doesn't work. Oh man, I'm sitting down at my desk and they tell me, black brother, get on up and get on out of here. Like, dang, if you can get that information earlier, I always think that helps. That way you can kind of emotionally prepare for that transition a little better. If you need to switch around any habits, if you have offspring, care mate, whatever, you can let them know. So everyone can plan accordingly, update that resume, all the rest of it, as opposed to finding out last possible moment and no, I didn't have any sort of idea that this could happen, was going to happen, and oh my God, way more traumatic. So if you can cut down on all of that, just asking questions, When are we going to know? If you have some information, can you let me know? I would definitely be updating my resume. If it gets to the point where I'm having to ask, wonder, having some anxiety about what's going to happen, I would definitely update my resume. Maybe even send out some feelers. I know we had some folks who talked about may have had gainful employment, gainful, stable employment at the same job for years. So it might be what they call a little rusty. It's been some years since I've had to go out and do an interview to figure out what sort of questions they might want to ask and all the rest of it. So that might even be a good idea. Update that resume. You can send out and take some interviews for some jobs, even ones that you might not necessarily want, but just to get back in the habit. What sort of questions are they asking? What sort of questions do I want to ask? Just getting back in a little bit of the practice skill of, doing an interview. You might have to do one on Zoom. It might be that you've been gainfully employed back. They weren't doing teleconferencing for, employment hiring and such, or certainly not doing it at the same volume that it's being done now. So yeah, if that's going to be the case, go ahead, get set up that way. You can figure out where you want to be set up in your location and all the rest of it, blur your background, all the rest, so that you can give your best presentation if it's going to be a teleconference type interview, or if you're going to be in person, all that. But man, do everything that you can to try to minimize surprises in the workplace. And then certainly anything to do with we might be terminated or might not be working here come June, that sort of thing. Man, as much advance notice as possible. Again, we will be here Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Catherine Massey Book Club. Lots more on JFK, and really lots more on workplace racism. I forgot so much of Abraham Bolden's memoir is about the workplace racism he experienced in the Secret Service, and him talking about the unprofessionalism of his other white officers. He was the only non-white person, and then them drinking on duty, and that ended up leading to other problems, like so much of it, and even documenting so that you have an accurate record of things that happened, what people said to you, all of that. So important. I hadn't read this book before, but I didn't have an idea of how much workplace racism was going to be a part of Mr. Bolden's memoir. So definitely, and JFK, I mean, whew, man, all the commentary this week about what happened with the assassination and all the records that have been released, and they had so much to say in Congress. Chat about that tomorrow. But workplace racism, 2 days in a row, will probably continue to be a big factor in Mr. Bolden's memoir, The Echo from Dealey Plaza, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on Friday, tomorrow evening. And then we'll be back Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, compensatory call-in. We'll review what has gone down the last 7 days. Austin Metcalf, white suspected racist in Frisco, Texas, killed at a track meet, a high school track meet, killed allegedly by a black male student at the track meet. They've been posting White Lives Matter all day long. I said, oh my gosh, if it had been the other way around, Negroes would have rioted and torn down the state of Texas and all this other foolishness. Man, they chopped off Sade Robinson's head in Wisconsin last year, and I don't remember anybody rioting. They didn't even talk about it, in fact. Still haven't talked about it for the most part outside of Wisconsin, so whatever. Like, yeah. And racist suspect, Austin Metcalf. Even at 17 years old, they way more informed about racism than us. We'll talk about that on Saturday. Anywho, let's see, other folks that they have commentary again on early today for neutralizing workplace racism. Just this week, just today on early, back to our normal time next week. Any of the folks who dialed in observations, they had problems, suggestions for managing white terrorism on the job, let us know. We'll give folks another 5 minutes or so, see if they're spectating or really bummed, came on that full hour early, really discombobulated their share for the day. We'll give folks about another 5 minutes or so to share anything related to labor. Let's see. Beyond that, I made sure I got in the politics, the tariffs as well. I would not discuss that on the job, even if you work. I know some people might work on the auto industry. I don't know, where all the listeners are. But if you work manufacturing or something where, I guess they might be saying, whoopee, maybe this will help things for our industry, regardless of what your views on all this with the tariffs. I would not be talking about that in the workplace. Yay, nay, if it's other non-white people, if it's exclusively white people, I would not be talking about any of that in the workplace. It would be very short. You can listen if you want to ask questions, if someone else is just volunteering their thoughts about all of this, but no, that all of that falls under politics, even though it might be an integral aspect of your workplace and having a direct impact. Bottom line, if people are fired, if people are hired, all of that, certainly, and how it's going to change things, certainly you can listen, observe, even let us know, but I would not certainly volunteer like you're just out, in the break room and you want to get on your soapbox for a few seconds and give your view on it. I would not. I know we have some folks, you might be out doing deliveries and that sort of thing, so you all might be in a kind of intimate environment. Even then, maybe especially then, I would not get so comfortable that you were just chatting it up. One, it's 2025. They might have microphones, so you have no idea who else is listening to this, so-called private conversation that you all are having in the vehicle. And then the same thing I always say, even if this is someone who's classified as black, they got 8 great grandparents, all born in Louisiana, even still, you have no idea what this person's politics are. You certainly have no reason to suspect that this person is going to have your back, so they say. You didn't know this, but y'all didn't go to kindergarten together. Y'all didn't graduate from high school together. Y'all on the same, sorority, fraternity together. Why would this person have your back? No way. So, as such, I'm not going to be talking about politics and having an assumption that we have similar political views. They might, whatever my stand, if I think the tariffs suck, if I think it's great, it's going to help our company, help our bottom line, maybe get me a raise. Either way, I have no idea if they're going to agree, disagree, they hate Trump, they love Trump. Like, that's not even why we're here. Like, let's just get back to staying safe, make the deliveries. And we're not saying, and because the cameraman, even if we have 1,000% agreement on everything, that camera might be on. Alexa might be here and we don't even know it. Who knows who's listening to this conversation? And I might, depending on how much rapport, I might say that to the person. Like, yeah, not that I don't want to hear your views, on Trump or the tariff or whatever it is, but hey, who says that this is private? It's 2025, Who says that they can't? I mean, certainly they got GPS, right? If people that do like delivery, that sort of thing, especially if you're in a company vehicle, they got GPS and all of that. So they know exactly where you are if you're on company time. Who's to say they don't have camera, video, all that? People that drive, we got Tumbling Dice, he on the school bus, they got video and audio there, catch all the little racist jokes that the little white urchins say to him. So yeah, this can't be we acting like you're in your personal vehicle. I'm in my personal vehicle and we're just riding around the city and, having our own little private political talk radio. We're just like, no. They listen to this, have everybody in HR listening to our conversation. And then these two niggers, they in agreement about the tariffs and talking bad about our president and we both fired when we get back and don't know why. No, and certainly if you're in the office, that's even worse. Like, oh man, I was talking about if you're in a, kind of confined, we're out on the road and driving around, you're in the office, geez, you might, depending on how many people work in the building, you could be 100 other people, 50 other people, 20 other people. Like, do they all agree with your views? Any of the people that do payroll, maybe they have a different opinion than you do? Hear that and whoops, put the decimal place in the wrong place on your check. Whoops, forgot half of the hours on your check. Whoops, might take a month to get all this cleared up. Whoops. That's what I mean. Nah. and I would say the same thing even if you worked with everybody classified as black for the exact same reasons. You have no idea what their views are, who did they vote for, what they think about racism, white supremacy. You certainly have no reason to think everybody who works there, even if they're classified as black, they're going to agree with you. Certainly not about everything. So, nah. I don't think we've heard from anybody their job is to go to work and volunteer their thoughts on, whatever the political talking points of the day are. I don't think anybody here that I've heard they're supposed to come in and, they do part-time talk radio or political talk at the water cooler for 5 minutes, 10 minutes on. I don't know anybody who does that or is paid to do that. That's not a part of their job description. Nah, that's not what's on your duties. What they, give you a few nickels to do, just stick to that. And most of that is going to be, no politics in the workplace. Maybe especially that's almost bad as like election season. Like, yeah, no politics. We're not here to talk about Elon Musk and how many Teslas they set on fire today. Like, none of that. Just get the work done. Let's get the work done. Like I said, now, if we're going to lose our job, that is a little different. Get all the information. You really want to be more asking questions. That's not time to curse out Trump or anybody else. You just want to be asking questions. What they keep saying, that C word, confusion. So you can minimize confusion as best you can. That's where the focus should be, not, ooh, can't believe it. Nah. Do that at home. Let's see. Other folks who dialed in, if you have hand up commentary to share, caller in Florida should be with us at the courthouse in Florida, should be with us.
Yes, sir. May I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Greetings to Gus, the host, the listeners and callers. Gus, it seems like the issue of racism has been coming up, or I guess race, or people, I guess, use different terms on the job. I believe if I hadn't shared this first one, where the black female, a black female who is in the supervisor position in the area, where I started calling it the segregated area. She shared with me that a white woman was, I guess, afraid to describe me as a black male. And, it was just me and her speaking about this. And she was like, it's okay. You can say that you can say that he's a black person, but the person was giving me a compliment. I think it was a white woman. So if I hadn't shared that, I wanted to share that one. The second one is it was two cases with MH, mental health. This white guy, well, both of them were using, I guess, vulgarity. I just used the two letters BS. They both said BS. In response to the complaints being filed for them to be put involuntary, almost like a Baker Act, those kind of cases, mental health, and especially with them being white dudes too. I helped one after another. It was two of them. The second one, it seemed like he, I guess, was more into reading and education, I guess. And he called the physician oh man, like a person that gives, I guess, oral sex, C-O-W-S, sucker. That's the term he used. All right. So, they're using these terms, and I just made sure I practice my calmness, and it turned out to be constructive. this guy just, he's talking about his mom. He used two words. He described his mom as a malignant narcissist. Okay, that's what he called his own mom, and he didn't even want to talk to his mother. And on his way going out, he just departed. He says, "Well, see you later," and everything. So, but he did use those terms. My next one I'd like to share, another white man who came in there and spoke about a race soldier, a police officer, GPD, was giving him problems, I guess. And he's talking about the system, and I'm like, oh, is this this another one of those white people that want to claim that they are against the system of white supremacy, I guess. That's how he kind of came off to me. And he was just so upset with this officer, a white officer. And then he mentioned Terrell Bradley. Gus, I know I shared the brutality of Terrell Bradley. He lost his eye, okay? And he came into the courthouse, and I seen, well, he only just has one eyelid, Terrell Bradley, a black male. So he said that this white officer was the same white officer that beat on Terrell Bradley. And he said, that was just wrong. And it was just, I looked it up. It was no street light. They stopped him on a traffic light. That was no traffic light there. He's just saying all of this. And then he ended up saying, he said, but I'll tell you one thing. He said, I'm glad I'm not black. And I say, well, then that means you're white or something. I can't remember what I said. It was a couple of weeks ago. But he said because I just thought about that quote, white people are not ignorant about racism. So he definitely wasn't ignorant. So he said he is glad he is not classified as black, or he's not black. I have two more, I think. So I was downstairs, and the white woman I call the pale predator, I think she was trying to bait me, like to trap me. And there was a news story where they were talking about Old Town. I think it may be one of the racially restricted regions, like almost totally white. So this white woman, we're looking at TV 20, and she says, that is the most racist. This is the most racist place I've ever been to. And I guarantee you on this whole segment, they're not going to have any black people on it at all. It's called Old Town. So, and I'm like, hey, well, I'm not surprised. That's all I said. So other than that, I didn't really say anything else. I just looked at the footage, and she said, it's just so wrong. It's so wrong. And I just think that her and a huge part of the courthouse white clique, I guess, been talking about maybe something happening in regards to race, I guess, and they may be wanting to try to get my point of view on the topic of racism, and I have not done that. I definitely agree with that. It's some other black people in there in the courthouse who talk about race or racism, but I make sure I don't do it. And my last one I like to share is, I think racism is being practiced toward another black female. I mean, we don't really talk much or have conversation very much at all, but just observing, it was a white woman, that same white chick. She made this comment about this black female's husband and saying that, oh, well, you better be glad that your boyfriend's not in here, or your boyfriend didn't come see you today. And that was her response to this black female victim's husband coming to take her to lunch, something constructive. So that's the way she showed her racism today. And I took my journal out. I said, yeah, let me go ahead and jot this down. Other than that, there was another update I'd like to share, Gus, but I think I'll wait until next week because I haven't read it all the way. I wanted to read it verbatim. The recent newsletter, I know I've shared it before, there was a lot, like a huge analogy where the top white person using the term success and master, using the word master and mastery. So I wanted to read that, and I wanted to share that with the program possibly next week. And other than that, that's all I have to share. Thanks for allowing me to speak.
Much obliged. Our caller in Florida was messed up my. Oh, there it is. How did I? Boop, there we go. Just a little bit. Terrell Bradley, for sure. I do remember. Folks who do not remember Terrell Bradley, man, black male privilege. Anyway, you talk about historically minoritized Terrell Bradley. He said the white fella that came down to the courthouse, and he said he knew how they had mistreated all of the black people, and he said the cops out, and again, he was talking about Terrell Bradley. He said, yeah, man, it's a shame they mauled Terrell Bradley and messed over the black people, man. Sure am glad I'm not Negro. Now, certainly, white people are not ignorant about white supremacy, racism, but it's so many of those that happen in the workplace where white people, it's like I'm not racist. Not all white people is racist. See, I'm one of the good ones. I don't know if it's that, if it's, I don't have any, I want to make sure you don't think I'm racist so I can really get over on you. So I don't know what to say to the colored folks. Let's see. Tell them about Terrell. Ain't it a shame what they did to old Terrell Bradley? Because I've heard that type of thing before. They'll see a black person. Ain't it a shame what they did to old George Floyd? Ain't it a shame? It's always a black person that's been mauled or whatever. Ain't it a shame what they did to Rodney King? Okay, well, that was your brothers and sisters who did all that. So, and he goes back up telling racist jokes and all the rest of it. I always say don't over respond. That is very, especially in the workplace. That's another one. You really, and we just continue about, because I mean, you certainly did not come to the courthouse to talk about Terrell Bradley, right? And if it had been a white person, he hadn't been in the segregated section. If he had talked to a white teller, you would have talked about Terrell Bradley and how much of a problem you think the police are here? Really? Because you got some suspected race soldier that, hey, I don't really have no problem with what they happened to Terrell Bradley. I mean, you got uppity niggers. Hey, come on. It's the same thing. The white woman who works there, suspected racist, she wears the FAMU sweatshirt. You're not supposed to do that, though. They said no sports paraphernalia and all that stuff. So and she knew this. When she goes around, when they say, hey, man, you're not supposed to be, got to be appropriate, man. And she goes around, hey, Leroy, they told me how to take my fan. What you think about that, Leroy? What you think about that? She didn't go to no white people to ask. It's the same thing. If you had been white, or even, I suspect, if you had just been not black, he wouldn't have said nothing about Terrell Bradley, wouldn't have got no love. We just moved on and let me get my documents here. Because that's what he came for. Like, what is all this even for? Anyway, let's see. Oh man, he said the two white people came in, Baker Act we talked about before, where it might be some sort of mental issue, mental health problems, whatever. And he said that they're using all this vulgar language and such. Person, say, you old penis, thinking, what is? Man, come on. Then see, that's one now. Panic button. I'd have been looking like, if Leroy had come up there and been saying all that, whew, buddy. Depending on who's working at it, maybe they hit the panic button, maybe they don't. They get through all that. That's another one. Now, what does all that? We got oral sex and you look here, look, colored boy, you know my mom. She's a malignant narcissist. What? What is going on? I put that down for sure. We talked about that with Sam Bachman. He all the way in Macedonia. I had to look on the map to even find where that is, but he talked all about that malignant narcissist. Dr. Welsing talked about that too, that narcissism is core of white personalities in the ISIS papers specifically. But that'd be the same thing. What are you telling me all of this for? Like, woo! I'm going to keep my eye on the panic button, and hopefully we can get through this. He said professional. Just get through, and then I document. Wow, what in the world? Woo! Yeah, you said he had the problems with the black officers. Oh, and then I forgot the one. He said that the white woman came in. She was going to give him a compliment. Unless I didn't hear correctly. She said, I guess he did professional service. And I've heard that a few times. We said folks have been really appreciative of him just being, courteous, didn't waste their time, didn't call him no names, and looking out for the black people, getting them copies and everything. Like, bravo, man. But he said she was going to do her compliment. She said, man, I was up there and, I don't know how the black boy, he's pretty good. He's pretty good doing it. It's okay. That's a black boy. You can say it. Like, I don't normally, I don't normally talk about no black people. Like, what in the world? And why would even? What is all that about? That's enough. If he had been white, she'd have just sent the fella up at the front desk. He did a great job. Great job. In fact, I don't know if they wear name tags and such, but a lot of folks, they work front desk, got a name that just says, oh, okay, Petey. Petey up there did a great job. Like, get him a raise. Like, right on, Petey. Right on, Petey. No. The colored boy up there, he's pretty good. He didn't try and rape me or nothing. Keep that colored boy. Woo! I don't even know, because I don't know what that has to do. If you're just going to give I have done a number of compliments before. The person's racial classification has nothing to do, unless I'm been mistaken, it has nothing to do with, are you competent? Did you press the panic button during our interaction? Did you get the documents that I wanted in a timely manner? What does his racial classification have to do with any of that? Much less, I got all this trepidation. The colored boy. Like, what? Come on, man. That's not ignorant about racism either. Like, not even clear. That's just that it does not get any better than tacky, because I suspect there's somebody that's heard a whole lot of nigger jokes. That might even be part of it. I'm not accustomed to saying black. It'd normally be the nigger at the front desk. Let's see. And the same thing. It's so much tacky. And all of this is white people are not ignorant about racism. That's all of this. Now, I've never heard of Old Town, Florida. Never. I've been to Florida a number of times. I haven't been to every nook and cranny, but still. I looked on census information online. Old Town, Florida, listed at 90.6% white.
Wow.
Now, they do give a diversity score of 44. I don't know what that means, and it's kind of irrelevant, but 90.6% white, 0.0% Asian, 1.9% black. Yeep. I guess there's a reason I've never heard of Old Town Florida. What a name. Old Town. Indeed. And so she come the white woman, he said she was there, and I guess they were going to do some report or had some whatever on TV or whatever about Old Town. They said, oh, man, they not going to have no nigger. Duh. Yeah, that's the same thing. Probably your relatives. And I don't know how long you been in the Florida area, but it's probably your relatives. Nieces probably got information back there in the archive section to help explain. Oh, man, they ran all the niggers out. Shame what they did to Leroy back in 1906. And she knows all this. I just looked. I just found out all this, that it's 90% white, 90.6% white. She knew all that. Probably been out there. Got relatives out there. Like, come on. White people, not ignorant about racism. And that's another one. That's like racist performance. Why are you doing all this? You probably live this way. If she doesn't live in Old Town herself, you probably live in a racially restricted region. It's a bunch of them in Florida. So what's all this, shut up, man. Shut up. Stop wasting. You got your document. Get on out of here. Get on out of here. Let's see. And that's another one. See, now when you have this type of thing, and we've heard a bunch of these, even from not just our caller in Florida. Like, we've heard a lot of different non-white people talk about this type of a scene where a white person in a work environment randomly brings up subject matter related to white supremacy racism. We've had where it has nothing to do with anything, like job related. It's not, sometimes it'll be like, it's not like you all had the TV on and O.J. Simpson or something popped up. Like, none of that. Just totally random. You all haven't talked about this before, and they'll bring it like, oh man, I can't believe it. That was so terrible the way that they did old Terrell Bradley out there. And oh, did you see what happened? And I've been saying it. Shout to Terrell Bradley, but I mean, why are you telling this to me? I take it back to the FAMU thing. Why are you telling this to me? No, I'm not trying to have no discussions of racism in the workplace. Random about something else. I can't say again, even if this, these were other black people that were coming up trying to engage me in the courthouse. Like when he said, I think it was a black female who came to tell him, you got a compliment, but she was real, had much trepidation and difficulty about identifying you as a colored boy. Even a conversation like that, I would not be talking as though, oh man, a lot of other people might hear this. Alexa might be on. I'm not going to listen to all that. That cracker said what? She called me what? Man, nope. Just, oh. I might even do the Fuller on that one too. Well, thank you for telling me. Have a blessed day. That because I mean, hey, we are not alone. And I'm not hopping in it. Even she says black female victim. I'm not getting no conversation with her. Man, these crackers, man, you know good and well if I had been white, she wouldn't have said. Say all that. Just write in your journal. Wait till I get home. Woo. Tell my mama. Like, man, come on. No, that's VGQ. If it's other non-white people and they want to do this, either way, if they want to talk amongst themselves, or if they want to talk with these other white people. Victims guaranteed qualify. That's another reason why I say I would not, even if it's another non-white person. Like our caller, he says sometimes he'll have to do runs, like they have to go someplace to get material or what have you, maybe post office, whatever. Maybe one time, let's say it's you and this young lady, black female. Even then, I'm not going to have no discussion and be talking like I said. Now, they might have a recording device in that vehicle, especially if it's not your private vehicle. If you got to take the courthouse, if they got a vehicle or whatever, that's one, camera, all that. And now, it might not necessarily be this young lady, but I have heard enough. It's enough non-white people victims. He, she, and I might have a private dialogue about racism, the segregated section. Can you believe they got that sister back there for 20 years and won't promote her? All the rest of it. That's our conversation. Then they go back and tell, because he already told us, it's a whole bunch of black people there. They got white friends, and the white woman who is married to the black dude and all the rest of it, they're buddies, even when she's rude and tacky. So we talk about this, and they go back and say, yeah, Gus, he was in there, he was talking and saying, what? It might even be a white person I don't even talk to. You know, and it's not that black person was doing it to be malicious or even to gossip. It just might be they don't have the same understanding of white supremacy, racism, and, you know, whatever. I just don't have that sort of filter to say I'm not going to be precise. I'm not going to really watch what information I share with someone who is white who I should suspect is racist. I'm not going to think, now, not all white people is racist. Shelley ain't racist, so I can tell them everything Gus said. No. But lots of us think that way. So you can't just be in the workplace telling every non-white person everything. That just, you can end up with a lot of trouble. As he said, you got a lot of non-white people there who talk about racism, and I suspect that they talk with other white people. But he's told us about this sometimes. So, whatever. That's on them. VGQ. Zip. That's where I say zip. Or we redirect. We ask questions and get back on workplace. We didn't come here to talk about Old Town, I don't think, unless you're in the archive section. We can't. Let's get these people out of the courthouse here. We got folks with the Brady Act. Let's not let them be piling up in the courthouse here, talking about oral sex and all the other. Let's get these. Got your documents. Have a nice day. The next, that's what we're supposed to be on. Work. Not all this gossip and wasting time, and you want to complain about Old Town, and let me get 5 minutes for Terrell Bradley. Come on. Can we get 5 minutes for Fan Mute? No. Let's be focused. Let's see. And this is all because it ended. It was all tacky all the way through, and we got the tackiest at the end, where he said, the young lady said her husband came to take her to lunch. That is the most mundane, boring, who cares? Go get your chitlins and be back on time. I'm going to be watching. I'll be clocking you the whole time. You left at 12. You better have your hind parts in that desk at 1 o'clock or whatever your lunch. I don't know if y'all get an hour, whatever it is. Whatever the lunchtime, I'm going to be watching. You come in late if you want to. I'm reporting you. They could have done that. Make sure to try and get out here and get a 45-minute lunch if you want to. I'm snitching right now. They could have done that. No, or gossip. You gonna take an hour lunch? Take a 2-hour lunch. Man, we calling her every type of coon under the sun for 2 hours. And her husband, because I saw, did you see that bald head coon she bought in here? Ain't even got a job. He gonna take her out to lunch. We talk about them all. Talk about their children for 2 hours. Go out and eat chillins and all that. We had a good time. No. That's why I said, what does it mean to be white? The vindictiveness. I don't like seeing they said black love now. They did at the beginning. I poo-pooed all that. Apparently, they don't want to see nothing look like you even trying for no. I ain't gonna say going out to lunch is love. That's a little. Yeah. I think Fuller would look at me like, hey, you got to be joking. We went to get a cheeseburger. That was love right there. Man. Yeah. But at least we not fussing, cursing, being mean. He wasn't out chasing and raping white women. I'm going to come and get my care mate. Let's go and grab, hopefully, hey, maybe they got some vittles. They went springtime, they went and got kale, bok choy, Brussels sprouts, smoothie. Woo! I hate it. I hate it. I hate you too. Matter of fact, he better not come back in here today. Who even says that? like, come on, real talk. So, if this is our black male privilege in the segregated section, one of the white ladies, matter of fact, let's get the white lady who's married to the black dude who doesn't wash his hands. He came in to take her to lunch. Now imagine him going over to the Caucasian section. Leroy better not come back in here tomorrow. What? What? What is the... Come on. Like, I don't know how she responded, VGQ, but I mean, that's the type of thing that I point to. Like, why would that be even said? He came to take you at max. At max. Bring back dessert. You get a dog back? Bring back something. I forgot my lunch. Give me something good. And put it on his card. Yeah, charge him for it. Give me a dessert. Nah. Nah. He better not come in here today. Like that's like threatening. Like, or else what's gonna happen? You gonna bop him upside the head? What's gonna happen if he come in today? What does it mean to be? And that's why I said, no, I'm not talking about no racism, because this is just tacky. Everything about this is so tacky. And keeping tabs. You know, old Leroy came to take her to work today. Did you see? Come on now. Y'all get mad. That's what I said too. Now remember this? Valentine's Day. Not that I'm saying anybody celebrate, but that's what I said. I said that. I've seen this. I've seen this with other people that are classified as white. You get a bouquet, and these other old white heifers didn't get one. Helen thinks she cute, got these. I have seen that with other white people. You think you gonna be some nigga woman, and you sitting up here, and old Leroy done sent you some flowers, some roses, oh my God. Ooh, I fire you, him. If I find anybody that look like Leroy, I'm firing them too. I have seen, like I said, I'm not messing around. I've seen this with other white people where they get vindictive and mad, hostile about that thing. So you classified as non-white, you do not. Matter of fact, I have heard black dude. We didn't even have neutralizing workplace racism. He called and he said, black dude in the workplace. And the white people found, I don't know if he was bragging or whatever, but they found out he was engaged. He's about to get married. Ooh, we getting you up out of here, Leroy. We didn't sign you on to be putting no honeymoon together and taking your wife off some nigga woman to a boy. Got to get Leroy out of here, and they did. That's why I say it's none of that. You're not there to brag. No pictures, man. You're not there. I'm not here to show off. I met Stevie Wonder. We were out in Hawaii at the concert, and he showed me how to play Ribbon in the Sky. Got my autographed copy of Swiss Beats Platinum album. Picture of me and Alicia Keys out of the piano together. None of that. Even with other black people, really. None of that. System of white supremacy. Even Mr. Logan, where he said, I went and got my master's degree. He said, that didn't remove none of the barriers. This is why. It'd be the same response. Really, nigga, you got a what? Nigga, he said, that's coming attracting Gus T. They had that analogy in there about masters. Leroy ain't no master. I know they didn't write nothing in the news about no black people being master of nothing. I know who the master is. I'm very familiar on this here plantation called the Universe. Master degree, you gonna come in here and think you gonna get a job. Get on out of here, Leroy. It's Logan. Get on out of here, Leroy. What does it mean to be? That is amazing. Over lunch. He didn't even say. They went and took the rest of the day off and got champagne and went to, some 5-star restaurant. He spent $1,000. He didn't even say that. They could have went to McDonald's. I hope they didn't, but they could have went to McDonald's. Better not come back in here today. Man, what did it, I get? Hey, if your care mate, you all gonna meet and go to lunch, don't announce it. Don't eat at work. Maybe don't even have him come inside. Or if female, she don't have her come inside. You just go out, get in the car. Or even, hey, you might just meet at the restaurant. They got to pick you up. It's only the one vehicle, but you go outside. You don't come inside. You text them in advance. I'm going to be there in T-minus 5 minutes. And you text them when you get in the parking lot, and they come on out. You come on out. And you don't even turn the car off, so we just get on out of there. That is so pitiful and tacky, but I mean, dang, that is the system of white supremacy racism through and through. Over lunch. They could have just went and had, we don't have leftovers from last night. We'll just go sit at the park and eat. Come on, okay, that's beautiful. No, it ain't. It ruined my day. Ugh.
Yes, can I add something?
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Like those kind of comments. A victim of racism a few years ago. This is connected to the same black female whose husband sent her flowers. She said to me, the white supervisor she resigned, that's in our department, this racist suspect said, "Oh, well, he brought her flowers. Looks like she got flowers again." And she said it just in that same type of this toxic, racist tone, like, "Oh, well, yeah, looks like she got flowers again." So, yeah, she said that, too. This is another white woman supervisor.
Does not get any better than tacky. I remember Emmy en route to med school. She has a month before graduating. She said just showing up at work and being fit. She didn't say she was wearing anything salacious and a skirt that, is 6 inches above her knees or anything like that. She didn't say none of that. I'm fit. I wear clothes that are appropriate for my size. Professional. But I'm fit and in shape. And she said the hostility from the white woman. And I've heard that a bunch of times from black females, specifically, the same type of dynamics. He said this is a white woman saying this to a black female that works there. But hostile. Black female didn't say anything, didn't do anything, wasn't uppity, wasn't name calling anybody, just in shape. I don't eat Cheetos every day. I don't drink high fructose corn syrup every day. Husband came to take her out to lunch. Brought her some flowers. Got flowers again. Like I said, and I've seen this with other white people, but oh my God, it is weird. You niggers ain't even supposed to. How did you get flowers? Did he steal them? You raped a white woman and took her flowers? What? I have seen that over and over and over. What does it mean to be white? That's the same thing I said going all the way back to the beginning. Black brother, Mr. Joseph, Marc Bamuthi Joseph, where he said, take everything down and all that. Nah, man, you don't have all that stuff up to begin with. You don't have all that stuff up to begin with. I understand I am not amongst friends in the workplace, even if these are other non-white people. To be truthful, it really wouldn't surprise me that much if somebody non-white had made a comment like that to any of it. She got flowers again today, or, I'm mad because her care mate came to take her out to lunch, any of that. And it really would not surprise me, if someone non-white had said that. That's the work. That's the plantation. I would write that down, put it in a journal, and keep going. And like I said, from that point forward, we would codify. If it's going to be lunch and all the rest of it, we just rendezvous at the spot. I don't tell anybody that, we're going to meet for lunch, anything like that. Don't send me any flowers to the workplace. Don't send me any flour or give nothing like that. Give it to me when we get home, or get it delivered to the house. You can set it up yourself at the house, and I can be surprised when I get home and I don't have all these nasty race soldiers being mad at me for the next year. All of that is super pitiful, but I mean, hey, that's the plantation system of white supremacy racism. Yeah, and I would say that regard, like all that little tacky stuff where they have, where they make up, bring your children to work and that type of a thing. I would not do none of that. Bringing your children into the work. If it's something where your children, sometimes it might be a school thing, and somehow in the route, it might be easier for them to come home from school and come to your office. I would try and avoid that. You do not want the people, race soldiers that you work with, doing recon and questioning and patting on your children and care mate and all of like, nah. If it's, a library close to where you work at, you could have them go there where it's some level of supervision to a degree. They could be constructive and get homework done, and you can just go scoop them up. If it's your spouse or what have you, like I said, if you all are carpooling, great. Keeping it green, as they say. Save on that gas and all the rest of it. Petro. You don't need to come inside. You can text. Everybody has a phone. You can text me what time you're going to get here. You sit outside. You don't even turn the engine off because I'm coming right up. Let me know. You're going to be here at 5 o'clock. I'll be outside at 5:00 and 30 seconds. Ready to roll. It's pitiful, but that is the system of white supremacy. You heard it right there. Better not come in today for no lunch. Think you going out to KFC 2 days in a row? Pitiful, 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 through and through. And Terrell Bradley, for sure, not forgotten. We talked about him in the matter of fact, that's coming up on Saturday. Compensatory call, not Terrell Bradley, but the exact same thing. We talked about that over and over. White dog through and through. We talked about that for years. White people training their dog, chomp on black people. Coming up on, I cannot believe that. I just saw that like 2 days ago. Started the week off. Black people getting chomped on by, then yes, have to be reminded, Terrell Bradley. Privileged black male. Make sure we did not miss anyone. Much obliged. Our caller in Florida. I might make sure I get our... There we go. Messed the up. Make sure I check the switchboard so I don't miss any of our folks who dialed in if they have anything to share. Again, we'll be here back to normal time tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Apologies to folks if we got you discombobulated, speeding things up, or being on an hour early. Non-Clemson dad, Mama C, Double O Dimples, all with us. If you have commentary, proceed.
Harris?
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's interesting. An hour early. I'm in Rosemont, California for vacation, visiting my brother-in-law and mother-in-law. So an hour early, I had no idea. I guess I just got lucky. But let's see. I was trying to figure out what I was hearing a moment ago in the story about meeting someone at work. That's interesting. Sometimes my wife and daughter, they come get me at work, and then we go to the park and, take our daughter to the park. It's very rare that she comes into the building to get me unless she has business in the building because it is a government building, like paying taxes or something. But, sometimes I do meet my wife, away from work at my lunchtime. So that was an interesting story. All right, let's see. I do have a couple of things to report. More phone. All right, let's see. I forgot to report last week that the woman who likened me to the office contagion got treated like the office contagion when she had a sinus infection. Firstly, I felt treating someone who is sick like the contagions to be disrespectful and unprofessional in the workplace. I simply wish that person well and keep it pushing. My former director has her grievance hearing next week, and she said I might be called as a character witness, for which I agreed. Interestingly, the engineering administrator, the one who signed off on my engineering license, took me aside and gave me advice. She didn't tell me to testify or not. She said, say only what I know. I'll only testify about me and the director's relationship, which is professional and respectful. I told the engineering administrator I'll testify to what I know, and to say anything else would be innuendo and hearsay, and I thanked her for looking out for me. Speaking of cronyism, a SC state rep attempted to pass a bill halting garbage collecting services in my area. It turned out the state rep represented a competing trash company in court that wanted to expand their business into the surrounding county. It would have resulted in less service for more money. People did come together to stop the bill. I mapped out the location of all 5 bill sponsors, all from within our county, but all outside of the trash collection district, and shared it with my neighborhood association. It was one of many efforts, and the bill has been halted for now. On Friday, March 28th, after only 1 hour of training, I already got insights into transit planning from the bus operator's perspective. When I met with the trainer, he told me about people wanting bus stops to travel through their neighborhood, but not having bus stops in their neighborhood. Apparently, having a bus route can raise your property values by 10%, but they don't like the idea of people getting on and off of the bus route in their immediate neighborhood. Transit planning is intrinsically linked with land use planning. Transit takes you places, not just through places. There's no point in having transit if it doesn't stop in places, in or at places. Ironically, the transit example was a predominantly black neighborhood. I do wonder, when did this recent example happen? For example, was it before or after the white people started moving into the area? Or was it before, or was it the black people who don't like the poor black people already there? One of the ways to do this is to prevent bus stops from being installed. And sometimes right away, it's so narrow that you have to request property from property owners adjacent to the roadway. And if they say no, that means no bus stop. Under normal circumstances, like working in a transit agency, I would not have learned this anytime soon. The way he used the black neighborhood as an example, it might have been an anti-black example, but I know this to be true of how black neighbors in my black neighborhood talk about poor blacks in our neighborhood that live in the surrounding apartments. Also, he told me how he grew up poor in the foster care system, and how he would go on to have a daughter who adopted a whole bunch of kids from Philadelphia. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I took Philadelphia to be code for black. I've learned so because of how he talked about Philadelphia in particular. He said, it was a rough place to grow up. I've learned so much in just 1 hour of training and just having a conversation with the trainer. Matter of fact, the same thing the trainer said about people in the black neighborhood not wanting bus stops in their neighborhood is the same thing my cousin said when I told him about the Interborough Express, which is a train that travels connecting Brooklyn and Queens directly together without having to go through Manhattan. And my cousin responded, I don't want Negroes in the Bronx getting easy access to Queens. And last story. So over the last week or so, there has been raging fires on one of the state parks that has started that was started by some teenagers. While in my neighborhood association meetings last Thursday, the officer reported on crime stats, and that they were unaware of the details or the people who started the fire, and said that they didn't want to speculate, even though the news had been reported that the fire was started by several teenagers. The news has since revealed 3 of the 4 teenagers, one, the eldest of the 4, is a black male. The 4th was underage. What I find interesting sometimes is that, every month when the cops and the deputies come into our neighborhood meetings and they talk about crime stats, they constantly refer to the people who are committing crimes as juveniles, delinquents, and every negative connotation you could think of to describe someone who allegedly commits a crime, especially. But one of the things I had to realize in that moment as well, too, is that, unfortunately, black people in my same neighborhood use those same words to talk about the black children as well, too, that they consider to be criminals as well, too. And it's kind of sad. How can you begin to, at least in my opinion, how do you begin to deal with white people when black people are constantly talking so badly about the black people that look like them, and then you shock when the white people come in and talk the same way, and you just let them? And with that, I will mute my line.
Ooh, wow. Black, and we started with black love. We started an hour early talking about black love. Woo, man. That is your teaspoon of black love for the day from California. Said I'm out on vacation. Didn't say L.A. though, thank goodness. Wow. Dang. Man.
The brother-in-law lives in L.A. and the mother lives in Rosemont. So we were with the brother in L.A. for the first night. We're with the mother-in-law for the next couple of nights, but we'll spend the last couple of nights in L.A. with the brother-in-law.
Breathe easy, Lord. Breathe easy. Oh, he said only a couple days, so they won't have to endure too much. Man. Oof. And they got 00 dimples. Oof, breathe easy. Yeah. Safe travels in California. The grievance hearing, that is, man, I haven't heard about, I don't recall someone talking about participating in a grievance hearing as a character witness. Like, wow, that's quite an experience. Yes, see how all that unfolds. Like, wow. Yeah, I've never even heard of such somebody who's gone through as a character witness for someone in a workplace grievance. So yeah, I'll be eager to hear how all of that unfolds. Bravo, he said he looked. They were going to offer less service at a greater expense to taxpayers for the trash collection service. And the folks who were promoting all this, they were outside of the trash collecting district. He said he went and got all this information and showed it to the other homeowners and such, and they were able, at least for the time being, to stop the bill. Bravo. I mean, man, that right there is why they do not want black people reading and focused constructively. Just paying attention to be able to go and get precise details about where is this coming from and being able to show this is fewer services, greater cost. Some might say is Elon Musk inefficient, and these folks don't even live in the trash collecting district. Easy peasy. Get it out now. System of white supremacy racism. It might be one of those, we might have to come back and do this again in 6 months or, a year, whatever. But at least for right now. Bravo. Great use of the brain, computer, and really time and energy. He said learning. That's why I said that earlier. We were on early. I said, now even though the racism, white supremacy is still there, you still want to learn as much as you can. He didn't say, now it would have been so easy. He could have said, the race soldiers on the job, they won't even give me an interview. I'm qualified. I've got experience. They haven't hired anyone. It's not like you found the ideal candidate. I can't even get an interview. He didn't say, I'm a sulk, man. Sit here and complain, mama C every day. I'm going to go and get transit experience. Got my CDL. Go get my transit experience. That way I'll have even another component of knowledge goes in with my transit planning. That is exactly what to do. And I said that when I'm talking about that today. I said, make an effort to do your best. Be about something constructive and do your best. Guaranteed you will run into racist man, racist woman, racist child. I cannot get this interview. What is going on? There you go. Do your best. Go out here and learn this transit planning. Wow, it is amazing. Different. I didn't know any of that either. That's why they wouldn't hire me. That's why I can't get an interview either. I didn't know that. Although I have heard, with regards to white supremacy racism, lots of people giving the same sort of justification. We do not want the bus stop in our neighborhood. Now, some of that, Harriet A. Washington, A Terrible Thing to Waste, she talked about the pollution that can come if you have these mass transit stops in the neighborhood. But hey, Seattle, they got lots of green buses and all that. It's 2025. They could do all that where it doesn't have to be super toxic for the inhabitants from a noise perspective or from a poison perspective, air quality perspective. That's not what we have. And we don't want them niggers coming into this neighborhood anyway. That's why the young lady in Buffalo, Cynthia, I just forgot her last name, she was killed for that exact racist thing. And they didn't say we don't, well, they did. Yes, they did. I was going to say, I was going to mess it up. they said explicitly, we do not want the niggers coming into the mall. Don't have that bus stop. Make it difficult, or don't let the bus stop come through the neighborhood. We don't want all them hoodlums coming up. We don't want all them niggers to have easy access to all our goodies. And of course, non-white people, other people classified as black, end up thinking and speaking in the exact same way. Now, that's not all of us, but that is very, very, very common. And that is a great question. How are we going to solve this problem, white supremacy, racism, and deal with these people classified as white if we can't stand black people too? Therein lies the problem. We started this program literally black love. I said, man, come on, be truthful. We don't even have no black love. We just don't name call other black people. How about that? That'd be easy. He said, well, I don't want them niggers coming in here. I want the bus stop over here. Woo! And I've heard that. Man, it would be nice. You got black people that don't drive and all this go green. We don't want all these cars. You don't want black people so they can get a job and improve their quality. I don't want them niggers over here. Are some of your cousins? Some of them? I don't want that. That's why I said I don't want them niggers over here. I know my cousin. Woo! Man, white people made a movie about Timothy McVeigh. Can Leroy get a bus stop? Man. We'll watch this Timothy McVeigh bopping, and I'll think about it. But I'm leaning no. I don't want no Leroy in the neighborhood. Woo! Woo! Privileged black male. Anyway, wow. He said, I don't want the Negroes in the Bronx. I thought, but KRS-One is rolling over in his grave. What? Man. Sad all the way around. There's the black love. See, there's black, man, there's the black love. Can I get a bus pass? Can I get a subway tow? They just beat the black teen. He was trying to get on the subway in New York. He was trying to get on the subway. They pelted him with the bananas and everything. I don't want them niggas. Woo, man. I'm sorry. I am done. We still did our 3 hours. We were just here a little bit early. Back to normal time for the rest of the week, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Tomorrow, Catherine Massey Book Club, compensatory call-in this weekend. See if we can get an update from that situation. That was Brooklyn, Boogie Down, where the black male teen, privileged, was beaten, called racial slurs, pelted him with a banana on camera. We'll share that one on Saturday. I guess they said in the solution, they say if he wasn't on the train, we wouldn't have that problem. You stay in your home area where you supposed to, don't be coming out gallivanting all over the city like you own New York, and we wouldn't have this problem. I think he was going to school though. I don't think he was going out raping and going to tear up I think he was trying to get to school. In fact, his mom says she normally takes him to school. His mother, Monique White, she says she normally takes him to school, but this day she didn't, and he wanted to ride it, and he got terrorized and pelted with a banana and called a nigger. Privileged black male. Anyway, much obliged, folks, tuning in. Sorry for the confusion. Folks thinking we were going to be on an extra hour. We were here early. Sobriety would be best. Given all the terrorism and tackiness that we discussed today, you for sure want a fully functioning brain computer so you can be alert to things that are happening around you. Try to make the best decisions you can to keep yourself safe, anyone you might be responsible for. All of that's it. Creator, help me maximize my time and energy to replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Help me to stop wasting non-white people's time and energy, including my own. Minimize contact, minimize conflict. Stop name-calling black people. I don't want them niggers in my neighborhood. Stop being discourteous to black people. I don't want them niggers or that bus stop in my neighborhood. Stop producing throwaway offspring who cannot catch the bus. Shout to Rosa Parks. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cal signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. Problem. You're a victim. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.